Guess what's finally been announced? So hey everyone, Blood Moon Bobby here, and I finally have word on the Infinity Train release date. So Cartoon Network has announced on their Twitter that Infinity Train, the long-awaited series about the character Tulip and her adventures with the characters Addix the dog and One the robot on that seemingly everlasting train with all the different worlds. It is premiering on August 5th, and it is going to debut with a 5-night event, according to Cartoon Network. And this is what their tweet had to say here, quote, the hashtag hype train has left the station. It arguably left the station after the Infinity Train pilot came out. Infinity Train is a 5-night special event starting Monday, August 5th at 7:30 p.m. So, yeah, so we've definitely been waiting a long time to hear about when the hell Infinity Train was finally going to premiere. I know that the pilot has generated like a lot of interest. I remember when that pilot came out, it was among a bunch of other Cartoon Network pilots at the time, including Victor and Valentino. But I know from, the people I follow on social media and just the internet in general, that Infinity Train was easily one of the most popular ones because of how mysterious it was. And, ever since that pilot came out, as well as subsequent trailers that followed, it raised a whole lot of questions like, what does the number on Tulip's hand mean? Why is she on this train? Why does the train, each car seems to have really different worlds? One has like a dinosaur looking world, one has the scary face monster, one is just a fart car, and one is just full of ducks. So it's just like, it just generated a lot of mystery for a lot of people and a lot of intrigue. And I think, and because of that, it easily became one of the most hyped Cartoon Network shows, especially, coming out of a time where I think a lot of people were concerned that Cartoon Network's future was going to be in shows like Powerpuff Girls 2016 and Teen Titans Go. So to see shows like Infinity Train, as well as Victor Valentino and Mao Mao come out, which I've seen the first episode of Mao Mao, and I thought was pretty decent. You could check out my review in the card above in this video. It signaled that, Cartoon Network was, they weren't just gonna, release like ridiculously fast-paced shows with really crude humor. They were gonna release shows that have a bit more, let's say, class, I get you say, with a bit more like legitimacy, in that they didn't need to be super fast paced. They could still have fun, but still tell a good story with good characters through shows like these. And this especially seems to be the case with Infinity Train. Me personally, I will admit, I'm not exactly the most hyped for Infinity Train. That doesn't mean I don't want to see the show at all. Like, it definitely is a really interesting show to me. I remember somebody saying that when in the Infinity Train pilot, it kind of looked like Cartoon Network's own version of Gravity Falls. I mean, yes, I know the two shows are very different, but just in terms of, you also have this very mysterious show, and it presumably is going to have a lot of twists and turns, and just Infinity Train just in general has just been shrouded in all this kind of secrecy. So I think for me, it's just that a lot of the advertisements seemed a little too vague for my taste. Like, yeah, it made me ask a lot of questions, but there wasn't really much that I felt that I could personally sink my teeth into. If you're one of the Infinity Train fans, and I have, personal friends of mine that are really hyped for the show, including my friend Gabby. If you're one of those that got super, super hyped, I personally feel really happy for you. I think just for me, I would have liked maybe a few more details without getting too spoiler-ish. And I kind of think that one of the reasons why people might be as hyped as they are for Infinity Train is because I suspect that a lot of people may have come up with their own fan theories. In fact, in the last video I did talking about Infinity Train, I did it, with Gabby. We did the recent trailer reaction. She brought up this really interesting theory where she suspected that maybe this Infinity Train is actually made by the coding camp that Tulip is going to. Because if you've seen the last trailer, Tulip, according to, let's actually go back to Cartoon Network's Facebook. Cartoon Network is saying that Tulip is actually running away, like basically running away from home to attend this coding camp. She's really into computer science and learning how to code, and she goes on this train, presumably going to the camp, and all of a sudden she's in this really a wacky and crazy situation where each train car seems to contain a different world and that sort of thing. So Gabby was thinking that maybe what's going on is, in the end, this train might it actually be made by that coding camp, and each world is sort of like a video game, like just in terms of how the worlds are really different. I remember one of the worlds they were in was a bit of a puzzle. I know that there was a piano that Tulip kind of slides through, and there was a game that was put up, a very cryptic game that was put up on Cartoon Network's website based on that particular world. So a lot of puzzle solving, a lot of enemies to face, that like the one that we saw in the Cartoon Network pilot. So it might be a thing where, like Gabby was thinking, maybe it's a thing where the coding camp set this up to sort of challenge Tulip and to sort of get her ready. I think Gabby even went as far as to say maybe each of the cars on that train was made by students of a different year, and because this camp is ongoing, it can presumably run into infinity. Like it could just keep going as long as the camp keeps going, which like I said in that previous video, is kind of a play on this certain type of code called an infinite loop, where the program just, constantly generates something that's put into the program. So that theory in itself, and I'm not saying this is going to make or break the show for me. I honestly think even if that theory turns out to be true, and I'm not saying it is, because, a theory is just a theory, we won't know until we see the show. That in itself, honestly, kind of makes me more invested in the show, and kind of makes me, want to take a look at the show. And when these episodes start coming out, I almost kind of want to start to see if I could piece it together and see if it'll fit into Gabby's theory. And if it doesn't, then it doesn't. I want to let creator Owen Dennis tell his own story. He's the captain of the ship, and I'm sure he's leading a really amazing team with Infinity Train. So I think for me personally, even though the mystery behind Infinity Train is a little too vague for me to get into, like a little, like, because they're hiding so many secrets about the show, it's really hard to get a feel for finding the thing that gets me super hooked on the show. I am interested in seeing how Infinity Train is going to play out. I do hope that, kind of like what Cartoon Network did with Mao Mao, that they release the very first episode of Infinity Train on YouTube to watch for free for everybody to get a feel for the show. I mean, obviously I'm not expecting Cartoon Network to give all that many answers, especially in the first episode. Like, no way they're going to reveal like every single little, even like major details, aside from establishing Tulip and getting and introducing us to the Infinity Train itself. But I am very curious to see what they're going to do in these episodes. I mean, I'm even kind of like starting to sort of piece together the little bits and pieces that we've seen in this. I even kind of suspect that there's going to be some sort of like parental drama dynamic in Infinity Train, because of how it seems like what Cartoon Network's Facebook was saying, Tulip basically ran away from home. And if you saw the trailer that Cartoon Network released around Comic-Con of last year, presumably you can hear Tulip's mom saying, Tulip, can you come down here? And she's nowhere in her room because she is on the Infinity Train. Her adventure is beginning. And interestingly enough, something that I really wanted to point out, even though if you look at a lot of the descriptions for Infinity Train, they say that Tulip is going on this adventure with Atticus and One, and an adventure in order to get home. Because yes, the train itself is a really strange, mysterious, and even kind of scary place. It does kind of leave me wondering if it is going to get back into, will it tie back into the coding camp at some point down the line? It may be a thing where they like they tell us, oh, originally Tulip was going to coding camp, and then they put that theory down to the side for like the majority of the series, and they focus on the other mysteries the show has and its stories and characters, and then that camp is going to come back like somewhere down the line in the series, maybe even towards the end of Infinity Train. I know it's kind of scary to already talk about a supposed end to Infinity Train, but I'm just saying, you never know. They might, try to boomerang that kind of idea like towards the end of the series as a sort of gotcha, we got you in this really amazing twist. So I'm very curious to see how it plays out, but even putting that theory aside, because of theories and theory, and if you want to hear about it in more detail, I highly recommend and you go watch the video I did with Gabby. I am very curious to see what they're going to do with Infinity Train, and see if it lives up to a lot of the hype that's been built up. I mean, obviously, if they're trying to keep many of the details of the series a secret, like if key things about the show in itself are spoilers to the series, kind of like how with the advertising for, I know this is a weird comparison, but like for Blade Runner 2049, if you remember, the trailers for that movie were very vague about the plot. Like, you basically didn't really know the plot of that movie until you went to go see it itself. And the reason is because even the premise of that movie is a bit of a spoiler. So I'm thinking maybe that's why, Cartoon Network, is hiding up a lot of these things. And the few things they have given answers to already, things like, it turns out that Tulip is going to a coding camp and she's running away from him. That in itself, the little reveals they've had already are pretty interesting. So I'm really curious to see how this is going to go. So I guess in a sense it does kind of leave me in. I do kind of wish I was just as excited as some of my friends are. I know that Gabby's really excited for the show, but at the same time, I guess me being put in this sort of feeling of what the heck is going on, am I even going to like this, like knowing this little about the show, and even just not having much to think in terms of am I really, like, I don't even have much to say in terms of am I really excited for the show or am I just not excited for the show. I'm curious to see what's going to happen, but I don't think I've formed enough of an opinion to say, am I gonna like this show or not? Because for whenever I see, a lot of the times when I see trailers for movies and shows, even if even if it's a case where I don't like the trailer, but I end up really enjoying the movie or show in the end, I have some kind of an expectation. Like when I saw the trailer or when I saw the first trailer for Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, I was kind of one of those people who was like, why are people so excited for this? I mean, yeah, it's animated well, but I'm not sure if I'm going to be blown away. And then I went to go see it, and my mind is blown. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse was one of the best movies I saw last year. So maybe as the old saying goes, every cloud has a silver lining. Maybe being in this kind of spot where I'm just kind of curious and thinking, am I gonna, really be intrigued by this? Am I gonna be a big fan? Maybe that in itself, is a really good spot to be, because, it leaves me, kind of curious about the show, and it does leave me in a place where, I'm curious and intrigued. And even though, I'm not sure at all how hyped I am for the show, if I am at all, I'm still just curious enough that I do want to see what happens, at least what's going to happen during this 5-night event. So I'm very curious to see. Are you all excited for Infinity Train? Are you excited for the show? What do you think of the trailers they've put out so far? Are you personally invested in the show because you've developed like some fan theories and you're really curious to see how this is all going to tie together? I mean, keep in mind, like, it's fun to come up with theories. Just don't get too caught up in them, because if you get too caught up in theories, you're not going to be able to enjoy the show for what it is. So have fun with them. Just don't, take them as Bible per se, because we don't really know too much about Infinity Train as is. Like, we know about, like, the setting, we know about the setting and some details about the characters, but we don't know all that much about the specifics of the show. So let me know your thoughts on what we know about Infinity Train so far, and if you're looking forward to this 5-night event. Until next time, this has been Blood Moon Bobby, and thank you guys for watching. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed this Blood Moon Bobby video. Like and share the video if you enjoyed it, and feel free to leave a comment, subscribe to my channel, and ring the bell to get notified when I release my latest videos. Follow me at Blood Moon Bobby on your favorite social media platforms to take part in polls, see my tech tips, and to hear about my video plans. Thanks for watching.